vanachare Jaya Radha Manjava Kunjabihare Jaya Gopinjana Valava Girivaridare Yashodanananda Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanananda Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Radha Manjava Kunjabihare Jaya Gopinjana Valava Girivaridare Yashodanananda Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanananda Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Radha Manjava Kunjabihare Jaya Gopinjana Valava Girivaridare Yashodanananda Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanananda Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Radha Manjava Kunjabihare Jaya Gopinjana Valava Girivaridare Yashodanananda Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanananda Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Mada, Jai Radha Mada, Radha Mada, Jai Radha Mada. Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Prabhupada. Jaya Jai Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajagaracharya Rastotarasata Srimad. The divine grace of High Churanara Vrinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Brahmacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Di Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhama ki jai. Sri Vrindavan Dhama ki jai. Srimati Radhama ki jai. Sri Mayapur Dhama ki jai. Sri Navadvip Dhama ki jai. Nilachala Jagannathapuri Dhama ki jai. Gangamaya ki jai. Jamunamaya ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Granara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samavera Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Shri Gaura Premanandi. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Jai. Narayana Namaskritya narachaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat nashtaprayesu abhadresu nityam bhagavatam sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhakti bhavati naistiki. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. So today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, Text 12. Chapter 4 is entitled The Process of Creation. So we have the verse on the board. Śrī Śukadeva uvāca. Namaḥ parasmai puruṣāya bhūyase. sad-udbhava-sthāna-nirodha-līlayā. gṛhīta-śakti-tritayāya dehinām. antarbhavāyānupalakṣya-vartmane. śrī-śuka uvāca. namaḥ parasmai puruṣāya bhūyase. sad-udbhava-sthāna-nirodha-līlayā. gṛhīta-śakti-tritayāya dehinām. antarбhavāyānupalakṣya-vartmane. śrī-śuka uvāca. namaḥ parasmai puruṣāya bhūyase. sad-udbhava-sthāna-nirodha-līlayā. gṛhīta-śakti-tritayāya dehinām. antaḥ-bhavāyānupalakṣya-vartmane. Try. Namaḥ parasmai puruṣāya bhūyase. sad-udbhava-sthāna-nirodha-līlayā. gṛhīta-śakti-tritayāya dehinām. antaḥ-bhavāyānupalakṣya-vartmane. namaḥ parasmai puruṣāya bhūyase. sad-udbhava-sthāna-nirodha-līlayā. gṛhīta-śakti-tritayāya dehinām. antaḥ-bhavāyānupalakṣya-vartmane. śrī-śuka uvāca. namaḥ parasmai puruṣāya bhūyase. sad-udbhava-sthāna-nirodha-līlayā. gṛhīta-śakti-tritayāya dehinām. antaḥ-bhavāyānupalakṣya-vartmane. śrī-śuka uvāca. namaḥ parasmai puruṣāya bhūyase. sad-udbhava-sthāna-nirodha-līlayā gṛhīta-śakti-tritayāya dehinām antarbhavāyānupalakṣya-vartmane śrī-śuka uvāca namaḥ parasmai puruṣāya bhūyase sad-udbhava-sthāna-nirodha-līlayā gṛhīta-śakti-tritayāya dehinām antarbhavāyānupalakṣya-vartmane. Word for word translation. Śrī Śukadeva Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, namaḥ, offering obeisances. Parasmai, the Supreme Puruṣāya, Personality of Godhead. Bhūyase, unto the complete whole. Sad-udbhava, the creation of the material world. Sthāna, its maintenance. Nirodha, and its winding up. Līlayā, by the pastime of. Gṛhīta, having accepted. Shakti, power. Tritayāya, three modes. Dehinām, of all who possess material bodies. Antaḥ-bhavāya, unto he who resides within. Anupalakṣya, inconceivable. Vartmane, one who has such ways. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Laisi Bhakti Vedanta Jagadguru Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, for the creation of the material world, accepts the three modes of nature. He is complete. He is a complete whole, residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable. Please repeat responsibly. Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, for the creation of the material world, accepts the three modes of nature. He is a complete whole, residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable. Srila Prabhupada's purport. This material world is a manifestation of the three modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And the Supreme Lord, for the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world, accepts three predominating forms as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankara, Shiva. As Vishnu, he enters into every body materially created. As Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, he enters into every universe. And as Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, he enters the body of every living being. Lord Sri Krishna, being the origin of all Vishnu Tattvas, is addressed here as Parapumam, or Purushottama, as described in Bhagavad Gita 15:18. He is the complete whole. The Purusha avatars are therefore his plenary expansions. Bhakti Yoga is the only process by which one can become competent to know him, because the empiric philosophers and mystic yogis cannot conceive of the personality of Godhead. He is called anupalakṣya-vartmane, the Lord of the inconceivable way, or bhakti yoga. Om jnana-timridasya jnana-jnana-shalakaya chakshuram-militam yena tasmai Śrī Gurave namaha. Śrī Chaitanya manobhistam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamahyam nadati swapadantikam vandeham Śrī Guru Śrī Yukta Padakamalam Śrī Gurum Vaishnavamscha Śrī Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunastam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namine Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashri Tatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvese Sasuyavadi Pasachade Satarine Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Ivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namini Gauratrize Namaha Nityanando Vatutendo Ruvasuda Pranavalabhar Janavir Jivita Patir Krishna Prema Prabhu Padmavati Sutasrimam Sachirananda Purvajaha Bhavom Mata Jagat Rakta Rakta Gora Kelevaraha Advaitam Harinadvaita Acharyam Bhakti Shamshanat Bhaktavataram Itam Samarveta Acharya Ashraye Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankaja Nabaya Nama Pankaja Maline Nama Pankaja Nitraya Namaste Pankaja Graye Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagaritaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopita Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pango Mama Mandirgatima Sarvaswa Padambujo Radha Mandana Mohano Divyar Vindaranya Kalpadrumanda Srimad Ranadgara Simhastanustau Sri Sri Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prishyani Bhisivya Manosmarami Shri Mamra Sarasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsan Venu Swanai Gopi Gopinata Sri Estunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Devi Krishna Mai Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarvankanti Samohini Paraha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, for the creation of the material world accepts the three modes of nature. He is the complete whole residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable. Ukam karote vachalam pangam lagayete green yat kripatamahan vande Shri Guru Dina Taranam Paramanam Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Akanda Mandalakaram Vyaptayina Characharam Tatpadam Dashitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So everyone is welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. And before we proceed to say something for our own purification and probably for the benefit of the audience, we seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis present in this forum, in this class, so that we can say something in glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswāmī prays in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Durgame patime indasya skalat pada gate mahuru swakrepa yasti danena santa santu avalambadam. Krishnadas Kaviraj, a very exalted Vaishnava, is praying for the mercy of the sadhus, of the devotees. Says his feet are slipping again and again. He is blind, and therefore he needs a stick of mercy from the devotees. So if such a great personality like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswāmī is praying for the mercy of the devotees, then what about us? What stops us from following such an exalted example? So we need the mercy, we need the support of all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis so that we can render some service to Srimad Bhagavatam. So, this chapter is entitled The Process of Creation, because Parikshit Maharaj had asked a very serious question about the manifestation of the material world. And before Śukadeva Gosvāmī would speak about the material creation, he first of all began to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Premanjana Prabhu yesterday gave us a very beautiful class. He said, whatever we want to speak, whatever we want to do, whatever attempts we are making can only be successful when we get the blessings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. And that brings to mind a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kantanchana smriti yasmin dukaram sukaram bhavet Vishmrite viparitam syat. Sri Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya namamitam. Mahaprabhu, whatever is very difficult to execute becomes very easy. But if someone forgets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a very simple thing becomes very difficult to achieve. That was the theme of yesterday's lecture. Whatever we want to achieve in life, we have to depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without that mercy, we're helpless. Srila Prabhupada, he demonstrated that when he was in his Jaladuta going to the United States of America in 1965 to initiate his international preaching program. Srila Prabhupada constantly prayed to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Said, I don't know why you're taking me to this place. I am not sure whether they can understand the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And my dear Lord, you must have a mission for me. You must have a purpose for me. So I'm depending on your mercy. I am simply a doll in your hands. Let me dance. Let me dance. Please let me dance. So that is the mood of a devotee. A devotee is always praying to the Lord for his mercy. A devotee is always praying to other Vaishnavas for their mercy. So Śukadeva Gosvāmī opens up this chapter by praying to the Supreme Personality of God. Actually, this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam is described as the prayers of Śukadeva Gosvāmī. So in this verse, a number of important things are said. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, for the creation of the material world, accepts the three modes of nature. He is complete. He is a complete whole, residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable. The Srimad Bhagavatam tells us, Harihi nirguna shakshat. Purusha prakrite para. Sasarvadrik upadrasta tambhajam nirguna bhavet. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always in a transcendental position. Harihi nirguna shakshat. Krishna is always in a transcendental position. Krishna has nothing to do with the material world. He has nothing to do with the material creation. Because he is relishing unlimited joy in Goloka Vrindavan, where there is no inebrities. So, if the Lord is relishing so much pleasure in the spiritual sky, then why does the Lord has to come down to this material world to effect the material creation, effect the maintenance, and effect the destruction? Kapila Dev, in his instructions to his mother Devahuti, says, Anadir Purusha Atmanam Prakrite Guna Paraha. It says, from time immemorial, the Lord is residing in the spiritual sky. He's the origin of everything. Anadir Purusho Atmanam. He's residing in the spiritual world, but for the purpose of creation, the Lord expands into his plenary portions. Even though the Lord has nothing to do with the material creation, but it is necessary for the material creation to be effected. And therefore, the Lord has to make the necessary arrangement. He expands as the Chaturvyuha, first of all as Balaram, then the Chaturvyuha, the Maha Chaturvyuha, and then Sankrashan, and from Sankrashan we have Mahavishnu. So, Mahavishnu is the Lord of the material world. The Mahatattva, he's the super soul of the Mahatattva. And it is from the Mahatattva that the material creation takes place. Sattvam, Rajas, Tama, Iti. That even though the Lord has nothing to do with the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance, the Lord associates with these modes as a play. He plays with these modes, utilizing the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, to manifest the material world, maintain it, and destroy it. It is mentioned that when the Lord decides to manifest the material world, he manifests himself in two forms. Vastuno, Guna Sambande. Bimbavat, Pratibimbavat. That when the Lord comes to the material world, manifests the is responsible for the mode of goodness. The mode of goodness is for maintenance. No one can maintain the universe besides the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, the Lord expands himself to maintain the universe. Karanadakashaya Vishnu is the supersoul of the Mahatattva. Garbhodakashaya Vishnu is the supersoul of the universe. Kshirodakashaya Vishnu is the supersoul of the living entity in all bodies. So in this way, the Mahatattva is maintained, the universe is maintained, the living entity is maintained. Only the Lord, in his transcendental form, he can maintain the universe. The other two forms, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they can create and they can destroy. Lord Brahma creates because he represents passion, and Lord Shiva destroys because he represents ignorance. But actually, all these are considered expansions of the Lord. They are called guna avatars. So, the creation of the material world is actually effected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma Samhita talks about Mahavishnu. Ya Karana Javale Sma Yoga. Bhajati Sma Yoga. That while the Supreme Personality of Godhead is reposing in a causal ocean, while the Lord is enjoying his yoga nidra, his transcendental sleep, his mystic sleep, he is dreaming. Mahavishnu is dreaming. And from that dream, the material world is created. So the whole material world that is enchanting the living entities is nothing but a dream of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No wonder the living entities are also dreaming. Actually, it is said that the living entity goes through 3 types of dreams. There is the waking dream, there is the sleeping dream, and there is the unconscious dream. While we are awake, we consider everything wonderful. We consider everything permanent. And therefore we make endeavors to own and control. But that is just a dream. It's a dream. Because as soon as Yamaraj appears, that dream is shattered. As soon as death appears, that dream comes to an end. One may be dreaming he's the king of a kingdom, he's the prime minister of a country, he's a father, he's a mother, whatever. That dream goes on while we are awake. But as soon as Yamaraj, the agents of Yamaraj arrive, that dream comes to an end. It is a dream. When we go to sleep at night, we also dream. We dream of so many things. But as soon as day comes, that dream comes to an end. Similarly, when the creation is annihilated. Bhutra putra praliyate. Creation, maintenance, and destruction. Srishti stiti pralaya sadhana shakti ekha. Creation, maintenance, and destruction. That is the nature of the material creation. Whatever we create, we may try to maintain, but at some point, it will be destroyed. Just like our own bodies, they are created. We are trying to maintain them, but they will fall apart. That is the law of nature. Everything we see in this material world is created, it is maintained, and is destroyed. So, we need to understand the mission of the Lord. Why does the Lord create this material world? The Lord creates the material world for the benefit of the living entity. The Lord does not create the material world for his own benefit. He creates it for the benefit of the living entity. Because the living entity is desiring to enjoy away from the Supreme Lord, the Lord has to figure out how to bring the living entity back. So therefore, the material creation is effected to give us that opportunity to try to explore the material world. Therefore, it is said, Loke vitatam atmanam loka chatmani satantam. That a living entity, he tried to expand his enjoyment in the material world. Loke vitatam. The living entity wants to expand his enjoyment in the material world. And material energy also expands unlimitedly in the minds of the living entities. And so this way, the living entity is expanding his scope of enjoyment, and material energy provides the facility. But ultimately, the purpose of creation is to bring us back home, back to Godhead. Unless we understand the purpose of the Lord, we will misuse the facilities provided by material nature. It is said that Dhritarashtra and his sons, they did not understand the purpose of Krishna. They did not understand the mission of the Lord. If they understood that the mission of the Lord was to have Yudhishthira Maharaj as king, they wouldn't have wasted their time and resources trying to fight the Pandavas. Only Bhishma Dev, he knew the mission of the Lord because he's a devotee. He knew the mission of the Lord. So as living entities, we need to understand the mission of Krishna. What is the purpose of this material creation? It is not meant for us to just remain here forever and ever. No. The material world is created to give us some facility to try to enjoy. But there are serious lessons that are in material nature. Dukalayam asaswatam, Krishna says. The material nature, even though we are trying to exploit material nature gives us a lot of trouble. And by experiencing these troubles, we surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We engage in Krishna Bhakti. And that is the only way we can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhakti-amam abhijanate yavan yaschasmi tatrataha. Krishna says that I can only be understood by the process of bhakti. There is no other way we can understand this process of bhakti. And who qualifies to perform bhakti? One who hears constantly about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. one who constantly hears and chants the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he accrues the qualification for performing bhakti. What is it? Jata Shradaya Tumam Pumam. Jata Shradaya. By hearing and chanting, we increase in our faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who increases in his faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes qualified to perform bhakti. And by performing bhakti, one becomes eligible to enter the spiritual sky. Bhakti hi bhutanam amritatvaya kalpate. Krishna is telling the gopis that every living entity is qualified to engage in my bhakti. And by engaging in this bhakti, everyone becomes eligible to enter the spiritual sky. So, the material world is created to give opportunity to the living entity to try to exploit, to try to enjoy, to try to play Krishna, to play the position of Krishna, but at the same time, he gains some experience. At the same time, he goes through some trouble. And then, through the association of devotees, we take to the process of bhakti. And then, when we become mature in the process of bhakti, then we become eligible to re-enter the spiritual sky. Actually, the ninth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says, Aham bhakta paradino, hi aswantantara eva diya, sadbir grasto hirdayo, bhaktai janam priya. That my devotees, because they have no other desire in their hearts, because they have become purified of all material desires, they engage only in my devotional service. And I sit in their hearts and give them unlimited spiritual bliss. So this process of bhakti that Srila Prabhupada has given us is the greatest gift we can get in this material world. As jivas roaming the whole universes, so many universes are coming out of the pores of Mahavishnu. While Mahavishnu is taking his yoga nidra, is engaged in his yoga nidra, his transcendental sleep, universes are coming out of his pores. Sa Roma Kupa. Sa Roma Kupa. There are holes, there are hairs, and in the hairs there are holes. And from those holes, the pores of Mahavishnu, millions and trillions of universes are coming out. And in these universes, unlimited living entities fill up. But if somehow or the other, one becomes a devotee, one meets the devotees, one gains the association of the devotees, and takes to the process of bhakti, then one becomes purified of all the desires. And when one becomes purified of all the desires, he actually purchases Krishna. Krishna is controlled by his devotees. That is the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the greatness of Bhakti Yoga. And anyone who is engaged in pure Bhakti Yoga is very close to the Lord. There is a story in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled down south to spread the holy names of Krishna, he met one devotee, Kurma Brahmana. And this Kurma Brahmana wanted to follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wanted to drop his household duties, his responsibilities, and just follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he was feeling great pleasure in association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, no, no. You stay at home. Just chant the holy names of Krishna and spread these holy names to everyone. Invite friends to your home. Give them Krishna consciousness. That is a better method than following me. Then there was another devotee. His name is Vasudeva. He heard about the arrival of the Lord. And so the next morning, he rushed to Kurma's residence in order to meet Lord Chaitanya. But when he got there, Lord Chaitanya had already left. So, hearing that Mahaprabhu had left, Vasudeva fainted. He could not tolerate not seeing the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he fainted. And what happened? Even though Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had embarked on his journey to other villages to spread the holy name, he could understand that I have a devotee who wants to see me. So he returned to that spot. All of a sudden, the Lord appeared in Kurma's house, and he picked up Vasudeva from his unconscious state and brought him back to consciousness. In fact, it is said at that time, Vasudeva was suffering from leprosy. His whole body was full of sores, and there were maggots that were eating his flesh. But he was so compassionate that when one worm will fall out from his body, he would pick it and place it back into the sore. That is his compassion. And so, Lord Chaitanya, out of his causeless mercy, embraced Vasudeva. And when Lord Chaitanya embraced Vasudeva, even though Vasudeva did not want to touch the Lord's body, but the Lord forcibly embraced him. And when the Lord embraced him, all his leprosy was gone. He turned into a very beautiful, handsome man. And so, Lord Chaitanya earned the name Vasudeva Amrita Pradha. The Lord who gave nectar, the Lord who gave Amrita to his devotee, Vasudeva. So the Lord is ready to give his nectar to all of us. The Lord is ready to give us the nectar of the holy name. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna Bhava Mritahiyaha, Aswadyan Swadhyayam Bhakta, Praman Diksham Ashikshayat. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world to distribute the nectar of the holy name. He personally tasted these names, and he initiated all his followers into chanting the holy names of the Lord. So, this process of Krishna consciousness is the mercy incarnation of the Lord, and we are also fortunate to have access to this Krishna consciousness. So let us try to understand the mission of the Lord. When we understand the mission of the Lord and we follow that mission, then our lives will be successful. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, we have some 5 minutes. If there are some comments, you're welcome. Yes, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for the wonderful explanation of the Lord and his creative prowess. I just had a question about this idea of Mahavishnu's dream. So, you know, I'm not a father, but generally if we're having a dream, and in that dream loved ones are undergoing great turmoil, suffering, and samsara, so on and so forth, how does the Lord remain in the position of the supreme enjoyer, although having such a apparently bad dream? So that is my humble question.
Yes, the Lord is Achintya Swarup. He's inconceivable. is inconceivable. Achintya kalo ye bhava. The Lord's activities are inconceivable. How is it possible that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is enjoying unlimited bliss, is having such a bad dream? And that implies how much the Lord has affection for the living entity. Because of the living entity's desire to be away from the Lord, he has to go through that bad dream. That is the indication how much the Lord has affection for us. We want to be away from Krishna, and Krishna has to go through that dream to manifest the material energy for our experience, for our pleasure, and our return to the spiritual world. So he had to go through that just for us, even though he is always in a transcendental position. The Lord is always in a transcendental position. So he is not affected by that dream. He's not affected. We also dream at night. We may not be affected by the dreams because the dreams are not actually real. They are just dreams. So the Lord, because it's a transcendental personality, he is enjoying yoga nidra. He is enjoying spiritual bliss. But in that yoga nidra, he has to make arrangement for shelter of the living entities, for creating the material world for the living entities. So in that dream, he sees the creation of the material world. He ensures the creation of the material world. So he can do, it says, Jagannath Ishwara Kartam Akartum. Kartam Akartum. Lord Jagannath, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can do and undo. Nothing can stop him. What is impossible for us is not impossible for the Lord. So he simultaneously is enjoying his yoga nidra, spiritual sleep, transcendental sleep, but at the same time he's dreaming of the material world in order to make facility for the conditioned souls that are rotting in this creation. He wants to give us an opportunity to come back home. So for that reason, he goes through that dream.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Any other comment? Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So it